Can I cough? Sorry.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It's the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. This is episode 92. Our coffee maker broke, which is a major historical event that everybody needs to be aware of. It was a huge problem for a whole 24 hours.
It was awful. Okay, so I guess it's good that we like to make it the night before for my afternoon iced coffee, because we would have, if we hadn't done that, we would have discovered the problem in the morning.
Yeah, that would have been worse.
That would have led to two non-caffeinated people, like, on the brink, probably like having our own like Squid Game within the house about this situation. But can we just say that another thing that the pandemic took from us was 24-hour Walmart service?
Yeah, it was like 10:30, and if Walmart was normally open 24 hours, I'd have just went over to Walmart and got a new coffee maker right there.
I mean, maybe not even 24 hours, but they used to at least be open later, right?
Yeah. Well, ours was open 24 hours.
Yeah. And we would have totally done that because we did that with a TV one time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our main TV in the living room broke, like, late at night, and Daniel was like, well, I'm going to go buy a new one. And you just left the house, calmly walked out, and then came home with a brand new TV because...
Listen...
Obviously, our podcast is We Watch TV. We like TV, y'all. We need a big
It's
TV.
not just about the TV. It's that, like, if I have to go to Walmart and I have to stand there for a while and look at things to read, I would prefer to go in the middle of the night when no one's there, because if I'm on there in any other time of the day, I'm having to dodge carts every 5 seconds to get to look at the information I want to look at.
It used to be like the best time to go to Walmart, like super duper early in the morning or really late at night, however you want to think about that. Like the 3-4 a.m. time slot used to be like top tier.
Yeah, exactly. Like I went to replace said coffee machine with a new coffee machine, and it was prime time, baby. And I was in there, and I get to the coffee machine aisle, and there's two people just standing in there. They've already got a coffee machine in their cart. They're not looking at other coffee machines.
Hour.
They're standing there looking at their phones.
Oh, so they weren't even talking to each other.
Exactly. In front of what I want to look at. Not talking to each other. And so I just stood there for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then one of them finally looked up and just wheeled out. They didn't take anything with them because they'd already gotten everything. They just were hanging out.
Well, at least you were able to get one. Basically my day was ruined before it even started because it's extremely cold, very cold here. It was cold last week. It's even colder this week. The wind chill makes it feel like it's in the negatives. It's terrible. I like to have a nice hot cup of coffee in the morning. Then I like to do my afternoon iced coffee. I'm very routine. Some might call this OCD, whatever. I need my coffee. You need your coffee too. I mean... Yeah, you work in like a basement. Like, you need warmth, you need the coffee, you need the energy. And you are cranky, let me tell you, without coffee.
Without?
Even crankier without coffee.
No, so I'm incoherently cranky without coffee. I'm coherently cranky with coffee.
I guess so. And we had very busy schedules, so we had no time to we don't have a local Starbucks. It's like a special people. You know what people at Starbucks are like, so what are your fun plans this weekend? This was my fun plan to come to Starbucks. We don't have one of those close to us. And we were too busy to go out and get coffee. So we just had to go a whole day without it. And it was not fun.
No, not at all.
And so while I was getting my hair done, that's when you went on your Walmart adventure to pick out a new coffee maker so we could have one in place. I hope this one lasts.
So I've heard. I thought I was. So we've traditionally been Mr. Coffee people.
We weren't Mr. Coffee the last time.
The last one that broke on us was a Keurig. We got it because we wanted to try K-Cups, but it also made regular coffee. We ended up almost never using the K-Cup thing, and we decided to split from Keurig.
Not only are the K-Cups bad for the environment, but they just don't have enough caffeine. I feel like it's
Yeah.
watered down, not enough boost. So we were into that temporarily, and then we just got back into our regular carafe of
So
coffee.
I thought I would adventure out and decide and try one of these ninja things because I've seen good things online about it, and then I get it home and you're like, oh, everything I read about ninja is terrible.
Okay, well, that's apparently Reddit is like coffee snobs. So if you want to ever get like super into coffee, I feel like Reddit is not the place to go to that. Like everyone was like, ah. So I've heard mixed reviews on Ninja. We'll have to see. But I'm telling you right now, if this Ninja thing doesn't last the test of time,
We're going back to Mr. Coffee.
we're going back to Mr. Coffee. I guess we could have had an emergency situation with your really old Mr. Coffee
Yeah.
maker that makes a tiny thing, but it's probably covered in dust. We probably should have gotten rid of that. It was just, we almost did think about getting it out of that box and seeing.
It's not in a box.
Oh, it's not in a box. Nice. See, this is where I'm a short person. I can't see where you put things up on tall shelves and cabinets. So my eyesight and my height is just, wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad we didn't go through with that then. I thought it was at least in a box.
It's just been sitting on top of the cabinet over the oven for like 5 years.
Nice. But anyway, that thing never broke. Not
No,
once.
it didn't.
We will be going back to Mr. Coffee if this doesn't.
Yeah, if
stand.
Ninja doesn't work out, we're going back to Mr. Coffee.
Oh, and can we talk about how you didn't read the box? Maybe you should have read the box and stood in the aisle. Like
no,
the
we
other
can't
people.
talk about that.
Okay, so we almost had another situation. Daniel comes home. He's getting the coffee maker out of the box later that evening. And you realize that it doesn't work with our traditional filters. It's the cone filters.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they supplied a couple filters in there.
Yeah, we haven't even. I bought some new ones to go along with it, but we haven't even used those yet. The ones that were in the box were.
And those ones have arrived?
Yeah.
Well, I bet FedEx didn't deliver those. I've been having, you guys, this has been just a couple crazy weeks. I ordered my slippers mostly and then some other items from Victoria's Secret, and I did expedited shipping so I could avoid the bad weather. And I know where my stuff from Victoria's Secret ships from, and those people did not have bad weather either. So before anyone gets on their high horse about that, if I had known that it was going to be going through FedEx, I would not have done that. If I had just done the regular, no expedited shipping, I would have already had them by now. I think at this point, I don't even know. Are raccoons wearing my slippers? Did the truck fall over? Who knows? Haven't got it yet. It's not my first time with FedEx, but so you would have ordered those coffee filters well after I ordered these slippers.
Yeah.
That have not arrived yet. Thank you very much. Had to get that little rant in. Okay, all right. Ranting aside, we did do a poll on Instagram. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, last week, Hope postulated the question to everyone: how do you make your hot cocoa, with milk or with water?
Yes.
And I told you, while I'm accepting of water, it's fine, that you are in the extreme
minority.
minority.
I knew that too. That's why I said this was a massive hot take
with
in the
your
episode.
desire, with your, with your water enjoying.
Yes.
And I believe the poll bore that out.
Absolutely. The results were very much in favor of milk with your hot cocoa. And I knew that. That's why I said this is a major hot take. But can I just ask, for everybody that did vote milk, what is it like to be the universe's favorite and not have dairy issues? Like, a whole glass of milk with cocoa would make my stomach hurt for hours.
You know, I just now had this realization that you like to get your matcha drink from Starbucks with oat milk. I wonder if you could make your hot cocoa with oat milk, and that would like strike a balance between the milkiness of milk, but not the lactose part.
I was thinking about that, and I'd be willing to try it, but I also can't front while the dairy's part of it. I like the watery, thin, like poverty-like cocoa texture. So I think this
Who
really
hurt you
might
as a
be one
child?
of my weird. You know how I have some hope-isms? I think this might be one of my hope-isms that I just like watered cocoa. I'll make you a nice steaming glass of water cocoa since it's still in the negatives.
I'm good. I'll keep with
After
my
this.
coffee, thank you. My extra strong coffee.
we should try
my
it with
extra
oat
strong
milk.
coffee because I haven't gotten the ratios nailed down on the Ninja yet. Every new coffee maker, you have to completely relearn how to make coffee. for some reason.
Why is that? That's why I don't like change.
I think it's because the old machine. I think the old machine just got so broken, but we were using it and we got used to it, and this is making coffee properly again, and now we have to get reused to it again.
What was crazy about that whole experience too is I was like Googling the fix for the machine that we have, and we kept trying it. Then we'd like hold our breath, and we would try it again, and we were both so desperately manifesting it to hold on one more day to make that coffee.
But it's the way of my people. We use things until they break.
Do you hear that?
Yeah, somebody blew their tire out. It's not the FedEx guy.
It's really not?
No.
Are you serious?
It's not the FedEx guy.
I was so excited. Like, wait a minute. Did FedEx actually come here?
Unless he just drove by and threw it from the frisbeed it out of his car. I don't think so. There's no snow prints from his car coming in. I'm keeping this in.
Okay. Gosh. All right. Okay, guys. So you know what would have made our coffeeless day and my frustrations with FedEx a little better? If I could have just severed myself till we got to that point. Do you not agree?
Yeah.
Especially like everything going on in the world. I'm like, what would happen if I just severed myself for a bit, had an innie and an outie life? What do you think? Would you be severed?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. It brings up a real moral question about, is that other person a person with rights who, they're going to be suffering for you? Is that fair?
I feel like you are a vibe check, because just like the other day over the weekend, you're like, you know what? I want to sever myself right now. So I think it really depends on Daniel's mood.
Yeah, it comes and goes for me.
All right. Well, if you guys don't know what we are referring to, we are referring to the Apple TV Plus show Severance. Season 2 premiered on January 17th, and we were excited. We had our pizza. Daniel actually went and got wings at another restaurant to go with the pizza.
I didn't like the wings that came from the pizza place. I wanted the pizza from the one place. I wanted the wings from the other place, because I wanted to watch my special show and have a nice time.
It's very like Gilmore Girls, like the way they would always get food from different places. But that's how excited we were for our Friday night Severance back in our lives. We watched Severance about this time last year, so we have not been waiting as long as you guys that are OG watchers. And I can't imagine having to wait that long, because I felt like we had to wait long enough. But this show is particularly pretty meaningful to this podcast here, that it is back, because it is one of your candidates for the best thing going. Is that correct?
Yeah, the only main reason I didn't throw it in harder when we had that discussion earlier last year was because it only had one season, and a show really needs to show me something in season 1 to get it out there that quickly. I think you have to show that you can sustain it through multiple seasons before I will consider you the best thing going, because it's got to be going. And so if this first episode was anything to judge by, I think they're well on their way.
Yeah, it definitely came out guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
That first scene with Mark just walking around the halls at Lumen?
Lumen, yeah.
Lumen Industries. So what did you think about the premiere? Do you want to catch people up? What happened last season?
Yeah,
first?
so, again, spoiler warning, spoiler podcast. We're going to talk about spoilers from here on out throughout the episode, not just Severance, but everything that we watch. So be aware, if you haven't watched Severance or Severance Season 2 yet, we're going to talk spoilers.
And skip to that next chapter. We do put chapter markers on for that very reason.
So in general, Severance, the basic idea is you have to understand the concept of an innie and an outie, which is there's a company called Lumen, and they have developed a technology that allows you to essentially shut your consciousness down and open up a new one within your own mind. And so your outie person is you as your normal person, but your innie is the person that goes and does all the work at your job, but you don't remember any of it.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be a job either. We saw examples of people that chose to be severed while they gave birth.
Right, exactly.
Last season.
Intermission from our outies. here, our non-podcast outies.
Oh.
We paused the podcast because the noise that we heard earlier in the episode that we thought was the FedEx guy was actually
wasn't.
a car hitting a deer, and we paused because then somebody came along and dispatched the deer with multiple shots. Which I feel like is a little bit of overkill, but whatever. So anyways, let's sever back into the podcast, shall we?
Okay.
So anyways, the story of season 1 Severance is you meet 4 innies doing their job, and they start to slowly kind of uncover the weirdness of the place that they work, and they discover a way to activate themselves when they're not at work. And so the final episode of the season 1 is they have activated. One of them stayed in the office, and the other 3 went out to activate to try and figure out what in the world's going on.
Like what the real world is like.
What the real world is like, and we discover some very interesting things about them.
Because they don't even know anything outside of the walls of Lumen. Yeah. Like their ennies don't know any of that. And a lot of this curiosity came on when they had a new hire, Helly R, come in.
Yep.
Because she kept trying to quit and quit and quit. Then she would see videos from her Audi that was like, you're not a person, like you suck.
Yeah.
You're not going to quit. You're stuck. And like that, your Audi is making your decisions for your innie. So as Daniel said, at the end of that season, we've got 3 of them with the Audis. Mark W. Who is the...
Barton Fink.
Barton Fink.
I never remember what his
Bert?
name is. Bert, I think it is, yeah.
And then...
No, Bert is Christopher Walken's character.
Oh. Okay, well, we don't remember this guy's name. How good.
Well,
thank goodness we're not a TV.
I hope you're not
podcast or anything.
listening for the first time, because if you're a long time listener, you know we don't know Barton Fink and Helly R.
Helly R.
Mark ends up at a party with his sister. Of course, he doesn't know he has a sister, and his boss is there. And
his sister's husband wrote the book that somehow got into Mark's innie bag. And they were all obsessed with this book.
They thought it was like a religious experience.
Yeah, when really his brother-in-law is kind of
a quack.
Means well, but sort of a nerd.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh my gosh.
His major discovery at the end of season 1 is that the therapist, Innie, looks exactly like Audi Mark's wife.
Who we presume to be dead.
Yes.
And that's probably a huge reason why he chose to be severed.
Yes.
Because he was still grieving that loss.
Barton Fink discovers that the person he liked on the inside,
that's Bert.
Yes, is married on the outside.
That was tragic.
And so it's kind of just a heartbreak for him. And he also discovers that he paints a lot, and everything he paints are stuff from inside, from the innie world. So there's some weird, like, is there something subconsciously crossing over between the two minds? Yeah. And then the big reveal is Helly R. She finds out she is actually the CEO in waiting of Lumen Company, and that her Audi volunteered to go in to show that severing is fine and it's a good thing to do.
She's like the daughter, correct?
Yeah, the daughter of the CEO, and she's going to become the CEO because it's a family company.
And didn't when she goes up to give her speech, she started talking about how it's like actually a terrible experience and they shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we obviously know there's repercussions. And then I think the season ended with Mark like looking at the picture, like you said, of Ms. Casey, and then it was just nothing.
And then they got snapped out of it. And season 2 picks up exactly there. Mark shows back up in the severed floor. He goes looking for his wife, it's not his wife, but it is kind of his wife. He goes looking for her and does not find her. In fact, the room she used to be in is completely gone.
And his regular coworkers, he has a new team who he's kind of like the classic, I guess, the old man. Yeah. And Daniel and I were like, who is this guy? Why do we know him? And we IMDb'd and we're like, okay, he is Frank Buffet, Phoebe Buffet's dad, who shows up in one episode of Friends, Sleepy Girl. And the fact, it was just the voice. And I think he does do a lot of voice work, but that's what we're just like going down the list and we're like, oh, that's what we know him from. So I had to get that off our chest because both of us were like, where have we seen this guy? But we don't really see this team very much. We see is it Michael Check? I always call him Milkshake.
Milkshake. Well, that's what they call him, is Milkshake.
What's up with this guy?
I don't know.
He's clearly not severed. What's wrong with him? I'm starting to think they took a piece of his brain out. Something's up with him.
I think everybody that works down there, something's
brainwashed.
off.
And they've got, please explain to me the child.
I have no idea.
Now they have a supervisor. So he's taken over for Ms. Cobell.
Yeah.
who we don't know where she is because she kind of exposed everything at the end, but she's still got, she's 3 fries short of a Happy Meal. She's screwed up anyway.
Well, not just that, not just she's gone because she screwed it up. The company is pinning all of the things that took place on her, even though that's not what happened.
But she was crazy. She's just crazy.
Yes.
Anyway, everybody's crazy. So now they also have this girl, a young girl that looks like a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so Miss Casey was of Asian descent. This little girl is of Asian descent. Have you noticed she wears her hair and barrettes exactly the same way? I don't know if there's a connection there or what, but I'm wondering because that is an intentional styling.
It was very intentional.
But where did this kid come from? I'm very confused.
And so I won't recap the entire episode, but eventually the team gets back together and they're taken in and shown a video to say, hey, you guys are famous. You changed the way Severance works, blah, 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 blah. And sus.
Yeah.
Sus.
And Mr. Michael Milchek, I can never say his name. I'm just calling him Milkshake Creepy Dude, the way they kind of refer to him in the show. He shows them newspaper articles about how they're famous. Are you buying that?
No, not one bit.
Me either.
Not even a little bit.
Me either. So yeah, that's where kind of the premiere.
No outies at all. We saw nothing of the outside world. None of the outies.
None of that world. And they have to make the decision if they want to go ahead and continue to stay. They're letting them make the decision.
Yeah.
Okay, wink, wink. So they all start off and they're like, okay, so what do y'all see? And Mark explains what he saw. The other guy explains what he saw. Heliar lies right through her teeth. So that begs the question, do you think, and I feel like this is probably the obvious choice, and why they'd all get together, that's not really the Heliar that is Heliar running the company and she's infiltrating because there's something off, or could it be that it actually is our Heliar and they've let her go back down there, but she is so ashamed and embarrassed because of what her outie does that she's not ready to admit that to the group. Which of those do you think it's going to be?
I'm sitting 70-30. 70% chance I believe that it is just the real person, the outie, infiltrating to see what for information. 30% chance it's Heliar who is just so embarrassed that she is essentially the bad guy on the outside world that she can't bring herself to tell everybody.
Maybe she thinks she can still tear it down. I just have to wonder. I'm the same way as you are with these percentages. I just feel like there's a reason why they're allowing them to get together, and I think a lot of that has to do with Helly. But that being said, I would love it if it would actually be the Heliar we came to know, and she's just kind of covering that up.
I agree. I still would need a really good reason why that CEO would ever go back in there. After what happened at the end of season 1, why would she go back on the severed floor and join and let her troublemaker of an innie join back in with the other troublemakers?
Well, they're already trying to plant the seeds of doubt among them. Like they're taking Adam, the one guy, he was the one that was doing the controls, so he actually didn't get to see.
Yeah.
But he knows he has kids, and I think they said, like, hey, your wife could come see you. You're the only one that's married. She could come see you. So they're like, and I don't buy that at all, but they're trying to like plant these seeds of doubt, and I'm really interested to see where this season goes.
Yeah, I am too. I'm interested to know because we never really found out what the work they're doing is.
Yeah, I think it's all one big experiment.
Yeah, I think that's the case. So it's like they're continuing the experiment, so the work doesn't really matter. It's almost like it's just a social experiment to see how far they can push people.
Yeah,
because they're wanting to push Severed out.
Yeah.
Into the mainstream.
That's why we saw the thing with like pregnancy. I think they're wanting to see how much, like, it basically just like Squid Game, which we'll get to. I think this show is a huge metaphor about how you're not a person.
Yeah.
To some of these companies, you're just supposed to be a worker bee, and then when you die, they replace you. If you quit, they replace you. You don't matter. And I think that's kind of what the message this show is sending. Is that what you kind of think?
Oh, I agree 100%. Yes, that is a different way of. Like you said, with Squid Games, it's a different way of going about it, but it's the same. It's really the same story, showing you like you are nothing to these capitalist companies.
Exactly. And I'm really interested to see where the season goes. Do you think we'll see the outies in the next episode?
We will see them next episode. I don't know because like this show, I don't know where they're going to go with it.
I kind of hope we do because we had some drama with Mark's sister because Miss Cobell had been like kind of helping be their like nanny or their night nurse or something, and we thought she took their baby, like his sister has a baby, that brand new newborn. We thought that she might have taken that baby, which she didn't. But so she obviously knows what Mark's Innie said.
Yeah.
So there's these plots that we have to kind of answer, and I'm like, please, I wanted more. I was really hoping that Apple would gift us with the first 2 episodes, and they were like, no, you gotta wait.
I think the reason we're not seeing the Audis right now is because they're actually the 3 of them, the 3 Audis that are not involved with the company, are just being held hostage.
Yeah.
The Helly, hers isn't obviously because she's the CEO. But the other 3 are just being held hostage.
That asks me another question for you. What if all this time Mark's actually not left? Do you think he's even gone back to be an Audi? Do you think they're just keeping them in that building?
Yeah, they could just be shutting them down. I don't know. I don't know.
So there's a lot.
I'm excited.
Going on.
Just the first episode in, but I'm right back into it. I might need to do pizza and wings from 2 different places again this Friday.
I thought we talked about Chipotle.
Ooh, Chipotle could be good too.
Do you think we are going to see any more egg parties or waffle parties?
Milchick was definitely bribing Dylan with a lot of different treats at the end of season 1, and then again in season 2, he's bribing him with like the family visits and stuff. So I think we'll see a lot of special parties at least for Dylan.
And we had to look up that his name was Dylan because I called him Adam earlier.
I thought you were talking about Adam, like
Adam Scott.
Adam Scott, the character that plays Mark W.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, from that we move on to maybe the best show on TV right now, and that, of course, is Special Forces.
And I actually have a question for you. Daniel made a bold remark. He's like, you know what? If I didn't have a personal rule against it, this would be a candidate for my best thing going. So I don't think you have to have. There's no rules here if you want to make a reality TV program. Your
personal
best thing going.
Rules are the most important rules one can set.
But if you really think it's the best thing going,
it's just it's a trash reality show. That's all it is.
And
it's just
amazing.
A trash reality show. It's season 3, Special Forces. We've gotten the first 4 episodes.
Yes.
Spectacular. Give me 14 more.
They've been giving us 2 at a time, and it looks like we're going to get 2 more this week.
Excellent.
So they're in Wales?
Yeah.
And this time our climate is cold, rainy, yucky, a lot of water.
Wet.
Miserable. I think we had hot the first season. Last season was cold, and now we've had this like wet cold. I think the just cold of season 2 would have been my preferred temperature, even though I just got done complaining about how cold it is here. That's just different. And some of the candidates that we have that are competing this year. We have 2 bachelorettes, including the OG bachelorette, Trista, and then we have Allie. Then we've got disgraced former Olympian Marion Jones. We have another Olympian soccer player,
Landon Donovan.
Then we have some football players, Golden Tate.
Yep.
And Cam Newton. Say what you want about Cam Newton, but he does make some good TV.
He does.
Then we have Brody Jenner, the son of Caitlyn Jenner, formerly known as Bruce, who was an Olympic gold medalist. And then, of course, if you've ever watched The Hills or Keeping Up with the Kardashians, you know Brody Jenner from that. Denise Richards, pretty famous. Let's see here, Christy Carlson Romano.
Yeah. You weren't going to get away with it, were you? To bring up your favorite, she brought it up in one of the episodes.
She did. Christy Carl. I literally said this. This was like well before that episode aired. I'm like, well, Christy Carlson Romano, she might have some military experience. She was in Cadet Kelly. And you were like, I don't think that's the same. And then she literally brought it up. She's like, I played this character in Cadet Kelly. And I was like, oh, we had to like pause it. It was so crazy. Let's see here.
There's a Baldwin, one of the Baldwin brothers.
Yeah.
Which one?
Thankfully, Stephen Baldwin. He is the father-in-law of Justin Bieber.
And then there's the motocross guy. There's the surfer girl.
It's Carrie Hart, Pink's ex-husband. I don't know the surfer girl's name, but as soon as I saw surfer model, I was like, well, that checks out. She's got a chill vibe from what we've seen so far. And then we have Kyla Pratt, another Disney Channel star. Then I think her name is Kayla. I don't know her last name, but apparently she's known as Travis Kelce's ex before Travis Kelce dated the great Taylor Swift. Is there anybody that I am missing that I can't, like I said, we've been dropping like flies here.
Well, yeah, I think that's the big thing. We're 4 episodes
Jordan
in.
Weber.
Yeah.
Olympic gymnast again.
We're 4 episodes into the season, and we're down to 8 contestants.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the fastest, like, whittle down.
They're
Maybe I'm wrong.
fast.
I haven't paid attention, but boy, like there's 10 episodes in a season, and they're already halfway, like got half of the people to quit.
Yeah.
And like, so it's 3 medical withdrawals.
Yeah.
And then the other ones are mostly just like Trista, the first Bachelorette. They woke him up one morning in a really like abrupt and abrasive way, and she just like got up and walked out and gave him her thing, and
I
like
think
she was out of there.
She was already kind of feeling some soreness and some injury, and she was just like, I can't do this anymore. I respect everything you do. And I'm a little disappointed that Trista didn't last longer. Now, when I say she's the OG Bachelorette, so we had Hannah Brown, Bachelorette, young, in her 20s still, won the show. Trista's like early 50s, so she is older, but they must like still make you sequester from your family, because we all knew on Reddit always knows that she must be doing special forces, but the theatrics between her and her husband, who she met on The Bachelorette, they are still together, by the way. You would have thought she was like really being shipped off to war. Like, it was insane. So I was like, I wonder if Trista's gonna like win the show and go the distance. So now I wonder if when you quit, they just put you in a hotel for like the rest of the days.
Probably.
I know JoJo Siwa did that, but she like dropped out like the last day.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure about that.
But the thing is, like, it's only 8 days, so
Yeah.
they might just put him in there just to keep him from going
I
out in
guess.
the world and blabbing.
And then Allie, Bachelorette, got medically withdrawn. Soccer player, medically withdrawn. Marion Jones
broke a rib.
Medically withdrawn.
Oh no, maybe we've had 4 people out because the guy
Yeah.
broke it. Who's the guy that broke his nose in the fight?
Oh, another Olympian, Nathan Adrian.
Yeah.
Cam Newton punched him in the
broke
face.
his nose.
And they were making them fight, by the way.
Yeah.
But would you want to? I knew they were going to make Nathan fight Cam Newton in that
Do I
episode.
want to fight Cam Newton? Hell no.
He was like the only one that was like his height and build. I was like, they're going to make him fight him. And you could just tell he was like, I'm used to swimming, not in a fight. And he was doing so well with all the water challenges. Then we had, let's see here, Stephen Baldwin. Is that his name? Stephen?
Yeah.
There's Alec Baldwin, Stephen Baldwin, William Baldwin. William Baldwin was the one on Gossip Girl. Okay, so I always known Stephen Baldwin as the crazy one. And he was like, so he's, thank goodness, y'all, again, spoilers, but you know what, I'm just say it. You only have to deal with him for what, like the first episode, maybe the beginning of the second episode, and then he's out there.
He tries to bribe the doctor or something.
He's
like
so
really weird to get him. Like, he was basically trying to bribe the doctor to tell him he had to leave.
Yeah.
So that he didn't like have to have the embarrassment of leaving on his own.
Andy Bernard does not lose contests. He quits them because they're unfair. So he actually did one of the challenges. Like, he did the helicopter challenge. They were doing fine.
Yeah, he did.
And, you know, he's an older gentleman, so we were like, okay. But then I could just tell. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's personality is just gonna, I would not be able to jive with that. Like, he's just nonstop. And you could just tell he was just a weird vibe. But yeah, when he goes over to the doctor, he said first, he's like, how much are they paying you to be here? Like, we all know they probably hire the doctors, and the doctor's kind of was like, what? He's like, well, what I'm not saying is I have this gig that's like going to pay me this amount of money. Like, what would you do? Would you stay and take this
so
gig?
weird.
So I haven't heard. The only thing I've heard of him doing in recent, I know he was in one of the Flintstones movies. Like, when were those? Like the 90s. And I know he is Justin Bieber's like father-in-law.
Was he Barney Rubble? Is that who he played?
Because it was John Goodman played Fred Flintstone.
Yes. Thank goodness he got out early because he was going to become annoying. But for that episode, he was entertaining.
He was
in the most odd and weird way.
Let's see, Denise Richards, she was just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Which I feel like she's probably, like, if you had to rate the cast, like, objectively, probably the most famous.
Oh, for sure.
And then Jordan Weber was also like, I'm done. I'm telling you something. I'm going to need, like, Sean Johnson or somebody, maybe Simone Biles at some point to come in. And I'm going to need my gymnast to show up a little bit more. Like, Jordan Weber obviously has a very tragic story. So I absolutely commend her for getting through that. And I am so, like, they did bring that up. It was really
Yeah.
sad. That has nothing to do with that. But her and Nastia both, and maybe this is a healthy way to look at sports and competition. They're both like, you know what? I'm
Yeah.
mentally done. I can't do this. I'm done. I quit. And it just like they're so chill about it. Like, I mean, she cried, but it's more not when I say chill, I mean like more of just like, this is it. This is my decision. No waffling. And you tend to see some of the other athletes will stick around until they are kicked out via injury. But both the gymnasts now have been like, you know what? That's it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
It's been a surprisingly emotional season. I think you should talk a little bit. Like Marion Jones broke her rib and had to go out, but before she did, you had some opinions of her going in, and maybe you've softened on that a little bit after this.
I
show,
don't know if I've softened on what she did.
Which might be what the point of the show was.
Well, okay, so the first I cried over Jordan Weber because they
Sure.
brought up all the stuff that she had to go through as just a young gymnast. Very tragic. But as we're getting the cast introduced to us, I'm like, oh, Marion Jones. So I'm a big track and field gal. I watched Marion Jones. I cheered for Marion Jones. She was one of my heroes. And I feel like after she did what she did, I've kind of, I still sort of do it, but that was kind of the first, like, don't put these athletes on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if you're not familiar with Marion Jones, she had her medal stripped because she did PEDs. And then she also went to prison because she lied under federal investigation about that. So that was like one of my first times, like somebody that I really like respected and look up to and rooted for, like really let me down. And I have been mad at Marion Jones ever since. I was like, oh, let's see if she gives like a redemption arc because I was mad. I was like, oh, I'm mad. And you could tell he's a little troublemaker. I wish she would have stuck around. What's the soccer guy's name?
Landon Donovan. Yeah.
Landon Donovan, who I was like, wow, he looks old, and he's like a year older than you.
Yeah.
But he was like,
Thanks.
hey, Marion, like, we must have been at the Olympics at the same time. And he's like, do you have any pills or something? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
He was being antagonistic.
He
towards her,
was
for sure.
more than once. And I've heard that to other Olympians, like I know like and I know she did something different, but Adam Rippon kind of talked about like the whole Tanya Harding thing.
Mm-hmm.
Any kid of the 90s remembers the whole Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan, and like why, even though Tanya Harding's tried to get redemption, like why there's like, she did kind of like put a smudge on U.S. figure skating. And I have read articles. I'm a huge Olympics fan. You guys know this, that, you know, a lot of Olympians take that really personally when somebody does that, even if it's not in their sport. And I think he was kind of poking that a little bit, but she took it. She just was like quiet, keeping to herself. They all said she was like a really good like cheerleader, rooting people on, but she was very quiet and reserved. And they did bring her back to that room, and they just straight up said it. Like they showed her the articles, they brought it up, and she just basically took complete ownership and accountability for it. She said one of the reasons, and I never thought about this, you know, she has to answer to like her children. Her children have to go to school, like knowing like what their mom did. And she was just trying to like, she knows that she couldn't erase what she did, but she was trying to like do something good that they could be proud of.
Yeah, I think that was the most.
Made me really emotional.
The thing she said that I thought was the most, like, you could tell she meant it, was that she said very specifically she wasn't looking to erase. She knows she can't erase what happened. She knows she can't get rid of it. But she needs to be able to move on from it.
Yeah.
And I think that showed somebody who really was regretful of the things they'd done.
Sometimes I just don't buy it when they say that they're sorry about this stuff, and I do genuinely believe she is sorry. I genuinely believe it's impacted her. I mean, we really haven't heard anything from Marion Jones in this. And I guess for me, some part of it, like, I'm not saying I forgive her, but like let's just actually like healed a little bit of me to hear her say that, and I kind of felt for her again, and I really was like, you know what, I can move on from this too. I want her to do good, and then of course she breaks her rib.
Yeah. Has it been 17 years? Maybe that's it. Maybe maybe it's been 17 years, and therefore you're allowed to forgive her.
That's my new threshold for forgiveness. Rich Rodriguez, 17 years. Apparently, crows.
Yeah.
Will hold a grudge for 17 years. I don't know. Maybe.
All right, I got one more question for you on Special Forces before we move on. Cam Newton, Golden Tate. Are they actually going to for real fight before the end of this season?
I have no idea. You can tell that Golden Tate, he just kind of reminds me of just a little idiot. Like, I don't want to be like me, just kind of la la la. Like, I feel like he seems like he actually is a nice guy, but just some some of his like self-awareness is not there. And I'm not saying Cam Newton is a great guy either.
Sure.
Please, not at all. But you can tell that like he is getting on Cam Newton's last nerve in this show. So I don't know.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't put them two together in the fight in the boxing.
He's so much
segment.
Golden Tate's so much smaller.
I guess, but at least he's an NFL player.
I think they do
you
it.
Put Cam up against the swimmer.
I felt like they tried to do it by height.
I guess, yeah.
And like body build and size. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like right now, if I had to guess at least one person that's going to make it till the end, I feel like Brody Jenner is doing really good.
He's doing really well so far, not just in the physical aspect, but he's really able to seem to keep his head on straight at times, which is, in this show, probably the more important thing than the physical aspect, is to be able to keep calm under tense situations.
Absolutely. And then I did have a note that I made. Taylor Swift reference, Travis Kelce X. Everybody wants a piece of Taylor Swift.
Of course.
She's the most famous entertainer in the world. And, of course, they were going to bring that up. And they brought it up multiple times. And I'm like, okay, we know you want everybody to the two of the most famous people in the world. But I actually am really coming to like her.
Yeah, I think
Kayla. Let's call her Kayla, not Travis Kelce.
Seems to have a good head on her shoulders. She's kind of up there with Brody. She's able to handle the physical stuff, and she's able to keep her head where it needs to be to get the situations taken care of.
And you can tell even when she gets heated in the moment of like competition, they were working together. That after that, she's like, hey, because like Golden Tate was really upset. His leadership skills were horrible. Cam Newton was ticked at him. It was a whole thing. And you thought like in the moment, Kayla was like, come on, you need to lead. But then after that, she was like, hey, shake it off. So I feel like Cam Newton would be great for Dancing with the Stars as well.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely would be.
Again, I'm not saying I'm becoming a Cam Newton fan. I'm just saying the man makes great TV. We were talking about both of those shows. And while I honestly think that I would prefer to do Dancing with the Stars, I'm going to say this to you straight up. And I don't know, this may be another conversation for my therapist. Mentally speaking, I think I would do better mentally at Special Forces.
Oh, I agree with you. I would not do well at Dancing with the Stars at all because of the crowd aspect and because of the showmanship of it. But I can put my head down in the dirt and just do some work.
I think for the judges just criticizing you like that after you really try hard and you're in front of that crowd of people and it is a grueling process if you last longer, I think that would mess with me mentally more than Special Forces. Like, I know they're going to be, but they're not so much critical as they are just kind of like, do this task. That's a pass. That's a fail. And I think I could really shut my brain off. And you and I are both incredibly competitive people.
Yeah, that helps.
That I think we could kind of put our head down and do it. So anybody else that you think besides Brody? I mean, they're falling off like flies.
I think Kayla could make it through. I thought Cam Newton honestly would go early from just what I knew of him.
Yeah.
He's shown me a lot more than that. He's still the person I thought he was, but he's got a little bit more than that. I think he could end up sticking around for a while.
I would like to see him break that, showmanship athlete curse that we have seen.
Yeah.
With like Dwight and some others. I would like to see who was it? Well, I guess Mike Piazza was injured, but we've seen some kind of the athletes that are in like the NFL, NBA, I think MLB too. Like we've seen kind of them. They kind of have just that like attitude.
Yeah.
And I would like to see that curse be broken and him to go the distance.
I agree.
So what about any of the women? I guess you already said Kayla.
Yeah. I say who's left at this point?
Cadet Kelly. Well, she's not Cadet Kelly. She was in Cadet Kelly.
I think she could go far. She seems to be handling it okay so far. Like she really does.
I think she could too, Christy.
That's the thing with this show is you can fail every course.
Like
and
Carly
still get
Lloyd
to the
failed
end.
almost all of them.
Yeah. As long as you get to the end and you're able to get through that last test, you can be there at the end. And it's not a winner show necessarily. It's a survivor show.
Oh, yeah.
So,
for sure.
Speaking of survivor shows, we have completed the Squid Game Season 2.
And we apologize that we kept saying Squid Games.
I don't.
But that's how everybody says it here in
That's how
America.
everybody says it. I'm not apologizing
I'm like,
for
is this
anything.
the Mandela effect? We kept calling it Squid Games, Squid Game. Please give me Season 3 ASAP.
I think we're getting Season 3 this year, aren't we?
It says 2025. My nephew said they said June. I can't vouch for that. So I don't know if you heard that from somebody, but we are supposed to get it sometime in 2025.
And it's really, in my opinion, season 3 of Squid Game is going to just be part 2 of season 2, really, because that's all it's doing is continuing the story of season 2.
So we have, again,
in a much more direct way than season 1, season 2 break.
I need to get an Excel spreadsheet with all their numbers. So we have player 465. That's our main character. You probably heard us refer to him as Soul because that was his name on the Acolyte. He's a completely different soul now that he's got the money. Didn't make him cocky or anything. He basically is like, I have blood money now, and he's just a broken man.
Completely.
And somehow he decides that, I really think he should have gone to America to go find his daughter. But that was kind of our cliffhanger. But, spoiler alert, he doesn't. He wants to bring down the games, and that means going back into the games. And he meets up with one of his friends who I met, and I always forget that you missed, that first half hour of that episode. This friend that was at the horse track with him. He's clearly gotten divorced, fallen on desperate times, and he is in the games as well, so they meet up. And then we also have another, I don't know, what's up with these player ones? I would not be trusting anyone with player 1. So
the thing is, nobody's supposed to be in there more than one time.
I guess so. So we have the front man, who we know won the games in 2015 and then somehow became the front man.
Yeah.
You know who would have become a good front man? Sun Woo. I think they were right? Am I right?
And he's also the brother of the detective.
Who is alive!
Well, I feel like at the end of Muppet Christmas Carol there, it's like, and Tiny Tim, who didn't die.
That's great. That was my big, so we didn't know. I didn't, because I hadn't seen any spoilers. Hot detective, let's call him that. Okay. And the internet agrees with me, by the way. Thankfully. We don't get as much of him from this season, but there's clearly still good in the front man left. He could have killed his brother. That would have been the smart thing to do. Erase any of that evidence. So none of those texts went out. They didn't get any of it. But he didn't actually kill the brother. He hired some buddy, who we find out later, some boatman, to take him back. And I clocked the boat guy.
Yeah, you did.
Instantly, which I feel like that was obvious. I'm not trusting this guy. And he's been trying to help the hot detective find the island again. We knew he was bad. They do reveal that he's bad at the end. That was kind of like the B plot. We didn't get a lot of them.
Yeah. But so basically what happens is eventually over the course of the first few episodes, Saul and the detective
465
get together and hatch a plan. They realize they have a mutual interest here. And so they hatch a plan where they send Saul back into the games with
But detective wasn't totally truthful.
True.
He knows. He's like, do you know the identity of the front man? He's like, I never saw him because he's still protecting his brother. They're each other's weakness.
Yeah. And so they pull Saul's tooth out, put a tracker in, send him in, and they're going to track him to the island. Of course, the games are smarter than that. They realize that's going on. They pull the tracker. Saul's in the games. He realizes he can't get out without getting everybody to vote to go out. And he meets player 001, who is the front man.
And
let the shipping commence.
Last season, I was like, I hate the front man. I hate him. And now I'm like, oh, he's sweet but a psycho. And I'm like, I know there's a little good in him left, and yeah, I do, and that's not that's not an abnormal thing. A lot of people are shipping player 465 with the front man player 1, and I feel like he's fascinated by him. But let's just say he started to almost, I don't know what it is about these red flag men that just suck me in, and I just want him to be good so bad, and I started to believe that maybe he was changing. And I think he did I do think he changed a little bit.
No.
Okay, so I think he was trying to see the good in people, and I think that 465 screwed it up. Because they have this, finally, we're getting towards the end of the season, and we have this opportunity where we think they're going to be able to have enough votes to stop the games. And 465, or as we call him, Soul, he's like, you know what? That's not enough. He's like, what we're going to do is we're going to infiltrate the kind of front office people. We're going to figure out what's going on. And basically player 1's like, so, but there's other people that are going to die because of that, and you're okay with it? And he's like, well, the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
And that shows me right there that 465 has been hardened and he is consumed. And I almost wonder if he hadn't done that if player one would have come around a little bit. But then, of course, there's some other theories online, like where they were playing the one game that he was throwing it with his right hand when he's left-handed. Was he playing them the whole time? What do you think? Do you think there's any... I mean, there's obviously good with his brother.
Okay, here's my take. At the end of season 1, Saul meets up with the original player 1, the old man.
Yes.
And as the old man's laying on his deathbed, they're watching the person laying on the street, and they make a bet about, is anybody going to come help this guy?
Which someone did.
And somebody did. I think this is an extension of that thought from the season 1, where the front man is throwing himself in there to say, I bet Saul can't keep that goody two shoes mentality. And he's right.
Well,
because you're exactly right.
Yeah.
That they have that moment where, because of the bathroom fight, the people that want to leave have the votes, and all they have to do is make it through the night without losing anybody, and they're out.
It's done. And
it's over. But Saul decides this is the time to hatch a plan to infiltrate and get a bunch of people killed, and that's exactly what happens. And most of the people that got killed are the people that wanted to vote to leave. So we know when they restart the games in season 3, they're going to start right from where they're at. And yeah, I think that is what... I don't know what would have happened had Saul not made that decision.
Yeah. Well, he says, so you basically... And I felt like, because I do ship them, that he was like, oh, so you want your buddy, your friend, to go with you, not me? So they send player 1 off another way. And he's like, why? I know a back route. Of course you do, because you've been up there. So for all we know, that 465 Soul, he thinks that player 1 is dead. Because he goes off and he ends up shooting, his own, crew that's helping him out. But he didn't have any problem shooting his employees.
No, why would he? They're just numbers to him. You've seen how they're treated.
Yeah.
They're just numbers as well.
Sure. So he obviously dons the mask again because now player 1's presumably dead. He goes out, he finds 465, and he's like, was it worth it, basically? Mm-hmm. Was all this worth it? Now you get to, pay for the consequences. And he just shoots his friend. And I think now you're going to see 465 Soul absolutely broken. I agree with what you said. This is basically season 3 is going to be 2.5 because I think they literally said, player something eliminated. They said the number.
They're not stopping.
They're going to be picking up with these games. We have more games left to play.
Do you think 465 gets to rejoin the games, or is he to have to watch?
I think he's going to get to rejoin them. And I think that I don't know how you come back from that. Like, I think you might be onto something where you said you could predict him to actually become the frontman at the end. And I think it could go either one of two ways. He will either become the frontman at the end, continue the cycle, and it's going to be melancholy, or something will happen and he will be the frontman, but they will play the games differently. They won't kill people. They actually will try to help people. I don't know. We still got the whole detective plot.
The whole angle, and they
got to show up.
Like, what was the line from season 1? You know why?
You know why.
Yeah.
I still don't know why, and I want to know why. I must know why. We had some other player. I was talking a big game. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be attached to these players. They've delivered. Yeah. With season 2. We have the mom and her idiot son.
Yep.
Love them. We had, I don't remember her name. I wish I remember her number. That's why I need a spreadsheet. And she kind of got in close with that group. Then we have another woman that got in close with that group. And this woman is trans. Yeah. And then there is a pregnant girl and her baby daddy, Mr. Crypto. I don't remember. I think she's 333 and he's 222 or something.
I don't remember any of this
stuff. Their numbers. And her baby daddy's there, and he apparently screwed over a bunch of people, including a rapper whose name is Thanos. Yes, like literally named after the Marvel. And that's another breed of toxic masculinity that I'm into. Gosh. And he is taking. I feel like he might have not taken the drugs right away, so he was into this girl who I thought was going to stick around longer.
Yeah,
and she's out in the first red light, green light game, and he gets her blood on his face, and he just opens up his little thing, starts popping pills, and that they could take away. They searched them.
Oh, yeah.
Before they dressed them, and they knew what they were doing. They're like, oh, we need this guy to be drugged up.
If they found the GPS tracking device in Soul's tooth, they found his drugs. They found the grandma's knife that's in the back of her hair. Shiv. They want that stuff in there.
Exactly. So he's also sharing drugs with another guy who gets on my nerves more than him. Do we think Thanos is dead? He got stabbed with a
he's
fork
dead.
at one point. Okay.
Yeah, he's gone. That's what pushed the other guy over.
And then we
the
have
edge
the sweet my Shayla, my little like military marine guy, who clearly has PTSD
Oh, yeah.
and had a PTSD freak out at the end. So we have some really good players. I think the best episode was the one where they did like the relay.
Yeah, that was great.
Ooh, I do not like the lady that's always like praying to the gods and like freaking out at everybody.
No.
Ooh, and I hate that boomer man, player 100.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the worst.
He's still kicking around. I am sick of this guy. And you know what? I don't like Mean Sue either. I do remember his name.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
He's like
yeah.
the little meek, mild-mannered boy.
But then he didn't save that girl at the end.
He didn't save that girl, and he screwed her over and went off, to try to be with Thanos and his crew. I think at one point he did try. He did ultimately vote to leave, but like it was too late at that point, and that really sucked. So we've got a lot of like players around here. And then let's also talk about one of the workers. So we think that she's going to join the games. Well, we're like, well, that's interesting the way she's going. She's going to work.
We thought she was going to be joining as a player, but then she ends up at work, and then she ends up being a cold-hearted killer.
Yeah.
And to the point where, so there is another subplot of some of the workers at the games who are harvesting organs.
And they're doing it again.
And they're doing it again. But she's like trying to stop them from doing that by killing players because they want them to be kind of alive.
And the front man doesn't know they're doing this.
The front man doesn't know anything about it. So as far as we know.
Yeah, but like the assistant front man knew.
Yeah.
The whole thing is very confusing. I think that player 100 or player 1, the front man, has infiltrated the group. I do think that he had genuine care for the pregnant girl because it reminded him of his wife, who clearly did not survive.
Then why did he let her in there?
I don't know.
Whitey Green.
We haven't even seen the VIPs yet.
No. Well, we only got through 3 games. So next season's going to have 3 more games.
Somebody pointed out that player 465 Soul talked about how he didn't like milk, and then they changed like their food. And I'm like, do you think he's fascinated by him the way he treated the money, or do you really think he cares for him, or do you think he's just?
I think he's trying to break him. I think he wants to break his spirit and show him that the games are right and that people are bad and ultimately selfish. And that's the whole philosophical thought of the show, even beyond the corporate idea that like people are just numbers. That's obvious. But more to the core is a conversation about the nature of people and are they selfish or are they ultimately good? And, we've got Saul on one side and we've got the front man on the other. Saul is now in the period where he is broken and starting to turn towards maybe everybody is just selfish and bad.
Again, Soul is 465.
Soul is 465.
So I think that the front man will die, but I think it's going to be a Darth Vader-like moment. Like, he will die going out a hero.
I think that,
and will be good, and
I
he'll
don't
have
think that's going to
redemption.
happen. I don't think that's going to happen.
I think his brother is his weakness. I think his brother's going to get there. I don't know. I think I want to believe so badly. Please let him be good.
Well, I think we will hopefully find out at some point this year. Anything else to say about Squid Games?
I think that about covers it. I'm all into the edits now, though.
Watching
everything.
Yeah. We talked last episode a little bit about the kind of looking forward to 2025. We're not going to do that tonight, but next episode we're definitely going to take some time to talk about the shows in 2025 that we're looking forward to. So if you have shows in 2025 that you are specifically looking forward to, please hit us up with fan mail, hit us up on socials, let us know what you're looking forward to. We'll throw them into our episode and talk about them a little bit. But before we get out of here, Hope also wants to mention this dumb Goosebumps show she watches.
I did. You watched the first episode with me. I've seen the first 2. It is a whole different season on Disney Plus than the first one with David Schwimmer as the lead. I will discuss it more in detail next week, but I just need to put it out there. I hope that this was done intentional and is related to the plot. So this show is set in Brooklyn, and it's supposed to be summer break. They're dressed like it's the winter. I need this to be, there's no leaves on the trees. I need this to be actually part of the story. Because if it's not, terrible set dressing, awful. I know for a fact, I used to watch Gossip Girl. They filmed in New York, and they would have the girls, when it's supposed to be summer or spring, in actual summer and spring outfits, but in between takes, they would have them in like boots, full blown coats, even sweats. There was actually one deleted scene, or not deleted scene, a scene that made it in where Blake Lively's character Serena had sweatpants on her dress, and like the internet never fails. They forgot to cut that, and she still had her sweats on. But anyway, they could have made it look like summer and just had these kids in coats and stuff off. So that's why I'm putting this out here now. I need this to actually be part of the plot, because there's like some kind of like botany plants thing associated with like the whole mystery. And that's why I'm putting it out there now, because I'm going to be watching a little bit more of this. And I need to not be disappointed in this. It's got to be. Don't you think it's weird what you watch, that I'm supposed to believe this is summer break and they're dressed like it's at least late fall, early winter?
I didn't hear.
I saw one girl's breath when she was talking.
I didn't hear the line that said what time of year it was, but
summer break.
Yeah, that's not what New York looks like in the summer.
All right, so I had to get that out of there. But yes, do let us know what shows you're looking forward to, because we will do a more in-depth episode about that later.
Alrighty. Well, with that, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.